Let's jump straight into this explainer and look at the money in your pocket through a completely different lens. We usually think of income as just one big blob, right? Like a number on a paycheck or the cash in your wallet. But the economic mechanics behind your money are actually way more intricate. Today, we're unpacking the different ways wealth actually flows into our lives, how economists categorize it, and what all that means for your daily reality. Think about the very last time you got paid. Was that money truly yours to do whatever you wanted with? Was it a sure thing, or was it a bit of a gamble? And honestly, if an economist peeked at your bank statement right this second, what exact category of income would they say you're looking at? Now, I know that sounds like a trick question, but it's really not. In economics, not all money is created equal. There are actually 8 distinct types of income, and figuring out the differences between them, that's your key to unlocking how the whole economy and your personal finances actually function. To really get a grip on income, we have to look back at Lionel Robbins. Back in 1932, he dropped this foundational definition of economics. He basically said it's a study of human behavior as a relationship between our ends, meaning our unlimited, constantly changing wants, and scarce means. It's the classic problem. As soon as you satisfy one want, another one instantly pops up. It changes with your age, the season, the culture. Income, essentially, is your hard-won slice of those scarce means. Which brings us to the famous water diamond paradox. This is such a great way to understand value, which is the whole precursor to income. Think about it. Water has immense value in use, right? We literally need it to survive. But its value in exchange, its price, is super low. On the flip side, a diamond is totally useless for actual survival. But because it's exceedingly scarce, its value in exchange is massive. The wealth and goods that eventually transform into our income rely entirely on this constant balancing act between utility and scarcity. Okay, so before we break down the specific types, let's establish our baseline. Personal income. This is your top line. It's the grand total of earnings you receive from literally all sources. Wages, rent, interest. Whether you earned it by sweating it out at work or just letting it sit in a savings account, it all gets lumped right here into this broad category. But as we all painfully know, you almost never get to keep that top line. And that brings us to personal disposable income, or PDI. Once direct taxes, like your income tax or wealth tax, are skimmed right off the top, PDI is what's actually left over. This is the money that is truly yours to consume or save. When you're standing in the grocery store trying to decide what to buy, you aren't doing the math based on your personal income. You're operating purely on your personal disposable income. It's the real, ground truth measure of your immediate financial power. All right, let's get into the main event, the 8 specific types of income. We'll tackle these in pairs, starting with fixed versus fluctuating income. The main thing here is stability. Fixed income stays stable over a period of time. So if you get a set monthly wage from your boss or collect steady rent from a tenant, you've got fixed income. It's predictable. You can plan around it. Fluctuating income, though, that keeps changing. Think about a business owner. Their profit isn't guaranteed at all. Some months it's hugely positive, some months it's flat out zero, and other months they might take a hit and go negative. Next up, we have to separate the number on the paper from what that number actually does out in the real world. Money income is just the income you receive in actual cash currency, let's say 5,000 rupees. It's just a static number. But real income, now that is your actual purchasing power. If you make that same 5,000 rupees, but sudden inflation causes the price of everyday commodities to double, well, your real income, what you can actually toss into your grocery cart, was just slashed in half. And the crazy part? Your paycheck looks exactly the same. Let's move to our next pair, which really builds on this idea of guarantees. Contractual versus residual income. Contractual income is exactly what it sounds like. It's paid out based on the strict terms and conditions of a contract. Sign an employment agreement for wages, you are promised that contractual income. Residual income is a whole different beast. It is strictly what is left over after making payments to all the other factors of production. Think back to that business owner. They have to pay their workers' wages, their rent, the machinery costs first. Only what is left over at the very end, the residual, becomes their profit. And finally, we look at how the income was actually generated. It's the sweat of earned income versus the pure luck of unearned income. Earned income is obtained after actively participating in a productive activity. You trade your time and effort for wages, or you risk your capital to earn interest and profit. You contributed something to the economy to get it. Unearned income, on the other hand, comes from sources without indulging in any productive activity whatsoever. This is your unexpected windfall, like inheriting a chunk of cash or winning a lottery prize. You didn't produce anything to receive it. It just showed up. So, now that we've classified money into these 8 distinct types, a pretty massive question pops up. where does all this earned income actually come from in the first place? How does an economy generate the rent, the wages, the interest, and the profit that eventually fill our wallets? To answer that, we've got to look under the hood of the economy, at the fundamental engine of production itself. We need to look at what economists call the factors of production. This perfectly maps out exactly how value is created and then distributed through the four factors of production. Provide land, which just means natural resources, on, above, or below the earth, and your reward is rent. Contribute labor, whether that's physical or mental human effort, and you earn wages. Provide capital, like man-made machinery, and you get interest. And finally, you have the entrepreneur. This is the captain of industry who organizes the other three factors and shoulders all the risk. Their unique reward for that massive effort is profit. Literally every single piece of earned income you have originates from participating in one of these four categories. Now, as we zoom out from your personal wallet to the macro level, it's absolutely crucial to see how these incomes impact the entire nation. We have to draw a hard line between economic growth and economic development. Economic growth is purely a quantitative dimension. It simply means an increase in the real national income over a long period of time. It's literally just a bigger number. But economic development, that is a much wider qualitative concept. It implies economic growth plus progressive qualitative changes that actually determine the well-being of the people. We're talking improvements in education, in health. You can absolutely have economic growth without true economic development if that income isn't actually improving people's everyday lives. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to chew on. The next time you open your banking app, don't just stare at that single balance. Break it down. Which of those 8 types of income are actually funding your life? Is your income fixed or is it fluctuating? Is it earned or unearned? And when you trade your labor or your capital to earn that money, ask yourself, is the productive activity you're participating in merely adding to the quantitative economic growth of the nation, or are you actually helping to drive true qualitative economic development for everyone? It's a pretty powerful way to look at your money and, honestly, your place in the world. Thanks for diving into this with me.